Hello everyone and welcome to the channel. We are the Hologrumps. I'm Liam.
And I'm Colm.
And we're here today to bring you the review of the latest episode of Star Trek Picard, episode 3, titled The End is the Beginning. Now, before we start, if you like what you see here, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button, and do comment because we love to respond to any comments we see. And if we like the comment and we think that it'll make a good video, we might just do it. Okay, Colm, do you want to take this away?
So, it starts quite unusually with a nice cold open. Actually, all the episodes so far have started with a cold open. But this episode certainly feels like the beginning of something. Maybe an adventure that didn't have to take 3 episodes to get started. It took a very long time to get to this point, to be honest. Our opening scene introduces Picard 14 years in the past while he's still an admiral. He's talking to Lieutenant Commander Raffi. Picard is trying to convince the Federation to keep the rescue going after the attack on Mars that we all remember from Children of Mars. The Admiral uniform looks actually really good. I don't understand why they didn't keep the uniforms from First Contact. I mean, it's not that much of a time difference. The strangest thing about this is, why is Raffi so angry at Picard for getting her fired? Now, it's clear that she only cares about her career in this whole thing. It's so much for doing the right thing. It's just a bit embarrassing.
Yeah, because she says the whole time to Picard, it's like, oh, but there must be something we can do. We can save the Romulans. Oh, thanks, Picard. You just got my ass fired.
Yeah, that seems to be all she cares about. It seems to be the only thing that actually matters to her is her career in Starfleet. And she can't do anything without that career. The scene feels like 2 actors were given 2 entirely different genres to portray. Stewart is confused somewhere between New Trek and Old Trek, and Raffi is in another show entirely. This scene wouldn't be so bad if it wasn't for the music. It's constant and loud and makes you feel like you've fallen into a game made in 2006 and you're just watching like 2 NPCs talk. The lack of respect for rank from Raffi, referring to Picard as JL, is also just jarring.
And like, we saw that Picard was friends with Will Riker, but he never referred to Picard as JL or even Jean-Luc. He'd always referred to him as Captain or Sir.
Rank was maintained. There was no JL, gotta do this. Oh, JL, please.
Hey, JL, get back in here.
Yeah, JL. Yeah, sounds like a brand.
You're my boy, JR. You know, like Johnny Cash. Well, that's it.
Oh.
Yes.
It is bizarre that they mention all synth life has been banned, but what does that say about holograms? Why aren't they deactivated as well? They're actually potentially more dangerous because they can transmit themselves almost anywhere. Anyone interested in that discussion can actually check out our video on the subject as well. It's also seen in the Voyager episode Renaissance Man that they can impersonate anyone and single-handedly take over an entire ship. Why was nobody talking about Spock's idea to create a stable black hole using red matter to stop the star? It didn't make sense.
Is this the JJ continuity that Alex Kurtzman was one of the writers for? Like, they had their own Countdown comics and they said this is part of the Prime Universe where Data's still alive.
Oh, wouldn't that be nice?
And so that takes us on to the opening credits, where again, I didn't count this time. Maybe there were 19 producers, and there should be. It's the same show. So we get to the opening scene, and we jump into the present moment with Raffi having invited Picard to see her storage container, or her house. Picard needs a pilot, the best pilot, despite being a pilot himself. Raffi says to Picard that, sitting back in your very fine chateau, she feels very embarrassed about her own.
She sounds like someone from A Streetcar Named Desire.
So she's instantly very comfortable with Picard because obviously from the comics we see that they work together very closely and in the flashback. But the problem I have with this, with having to go back to characters from Jean-Luc's past, and that Patrick Stewart didn't want to have anything to do with his past, so to speak, why not just use Next Generation characters anyway?
It would have been great to see LaForge in there instead.
Yeah, anyone that we, the audience, are connected with. I know it's all great, well and great to see Picard go back to his old first officer, but we, the audience, don't know who that is, and from the get-go aren't very invested in what's wrong with her. I mean, every single character that appears in this show seems to have this extreme emotional baggage. It's kind of more like watching a soap opera than Star Trek. But Raffi seems to be an addict. Also, on another side note, the place where Raffi's container is, the scene where Kirk fought the Gorn. And we got the two-fisted punch. And at this point in the episode, we take a break from Picard and go visit Emperor Palpatine on the Death Cube. Well, if the music is anything to go by, that's what we should expect. But no, instead we get Hugh, the Borg from TNG's I, Borg and Two-Parter Descent, which is, it's great to see old characters, of course, come back in and feature a little right after my rant about why we need more TNG characters. It's a little odd, I suppose, that it took him so long to appear. Maybe they weren't planning on using him. We see Hugh watching Soji on webcam. The problem I have with this is if nobody knows what species this Borg is that Soji was talking to in the previous episode, how does Hugh know that she's speaking to it in its own language?
Could have been speaking gibberish.
Yeah, she could have just went up and said, oh, for all he knows, she's speaking Mandarin to it. I mean, we don't know that Hugh can speak Mandarin. He grants Soji permission to speak to the Romulan Borg Romda, who has absolutely nothing to say. Romulans don't disassimilate very well. Soji wants to meet Ramda. We get more exposition, mystery, and intrigue after the previous episode of exposition, mystery, and intrigue with O and Rizzo. Quite frankly, I tuned out for pretty much all of this because we just have to accept that the only reason we have all of this is just to come up with an excuse for why Soji has to go meet Ramda so Ramda can tell her that she's the destroyer of worlds. Also, we find out that Ramda hates the word mythology, but then she believes in this kind of prophecy. She believes in this kind of prophecy about Soji, so kind of hypocritical, you know.
Well, maybe, Liam. Maybe she knows what Soji is. Maybe she knows exactly what Soji is, and that's why she's scared, and she's just remembering as she's deborging.
Maybe it is true, and Soji is the daughter of Picard and the Borg Queen, and Soji's the one that captured Ramda as a Romulan.
Ah, maybe she's the chosen one. The one who will bring balance to the Empire. Anyway, we jump back to the Daystrom in Okinawa. O is standing over Dr. Jurati, just watching her listen to music, which is a little bit creepy if you ask me. O might just be from the Mirror Universe because she's wearing sunglasses. And let's all remember, she's a Vulcan. Vulcans come from a planet with a lot of sun. They actually have, I believe it was in the original series, they mentioned that Vulcans have an inner eyelid that is very protective against light. So it just doesn't make any sense that she's wearing sunglasses on Earth.
Yeah, it was kind of designed that they could see light or they could see colors differently because of the different sun that they have. But it was said that different colors could really affect Vulcans and maybe give them migraines or headaches. But it wasn't light. Okay, maybe the writers just got a little bit confused there and think that Vulcans need to wear sunglasses.
But maybe she is from the Mirror Universe, and we're going to find out that the Empire is going to be made great again. So Picard calls Raffi, gives her Maddox's info. Picard is back to being the captain, we remember, because he takes no guff from her at all. He just says, get the job done, do this, here's the information, goodbye.
Maybe a little bit jarring after the scene they just had, because he wasn't even joking about it. He was like, do it.
Yeah, after the scene he just had where he had to run and catch up to her.
So then Picard beams aboard Rios' ship. The pilot Picard has tracked down, thanks to Raffi. And the ship looks nothing like anything out of Star Trek. It just kind of looks like generic sci-fi. But that's okay. It didn't bother me that much. We get some lovely Star Trek music when he beams aboard, which was a nice touch. Just to remind us what universe we're in case you just tuned in. We meet an EMH, which says to Picard, I'm afraid you might be too late. I suppose he'd be a bit more in a panic if he actually thought that the captain was going to die. Then we get a nice scene between Rios and Picard. Picard relaxes into the ship. The nostalgic music does make a great touch, and it makes this almost unfamiliar set seem familiar.
Yeah, I really liked it. Like, this was the scene where I kind of started to enjoy the episode. Before this, I wasn't really enjoying it. But seeing Picard, the second he gets into space, become somehow more relaxed than he is on Earth at his own vineyard, it was really nice to see.
Yeah, because as we know from the episode Family in The Next Generation, Picard was never really at ease when he was back on Earth. So it's like he always had this longing to go back into outer space. So it was a really nice touch then when he gets on board that he's more at ease than we've seen him in the entire show. So he belongs there. So it's great. I have to give that one a thumbs up. It's probably one of the highlights of the episode. So then we go back to Raffi, who's looking for Maddox, and in the space of one night, she has tracked Maddox down. Picard has been trying to find Maddox, and then he didn't know anybody else but his old first officer who hates him, who he could turn to try and track down Maddox.
Maybe he's out of touch. Maybe he doesn't understand technology anymore. Maybe he's like old people today and he has no concept of technology.
Split between old people, like some people can use computers and phones and technology, and then the other half that can't even operate a toaster. And Picard has fallen into the can't operate a toaster side. Space? Oh, it's come off world.
Oh, this message came from outer space. Do you think there's aliens out there? You're an alien. Whoa!
So then we get to the scene with Rios and his hologram ENH, the emergency navigational hologram, and this just killed the character Rios. I suppose not the character, but maybe the actor, because we get this delightful Irish or Midlands UK accent, and we just didn't know what it was. It was like...
I found it a little bit racist, to be honest. First of all, because he starts talking about the angels are with you now.
I.e., the spirits and the angels will be with Picard.
Yeah, like, I'm Irish and I can't even do that accent. I don't know what the hell that was. It was just offensive, to be honest, and I cannot wait to see more of it because I just love the casual racism of it.
Yeah, I mean, how come it's okay to make fun of us? And they actually have an Irish cast member in the show, so and her accent is perfectly normal. Could they not consult her before telling this guy to do his best Irish impersonation? And to...
Well, she wasn't on set at the time.
I know she wasn't on set, but maybe she wasn't even cast at the time. Yeah, so we get, oh, sure, Picard is with the spirit folk, you know, he has the will of the gods behind him, etc., which was unnecessary. They could have just had him be a bit more upbeat or a bit more...
They were literally just playing to stereotypes that all Irish people are religious in some way.
Yeah.
And it's just offensive, to be honest.
Okay, then we get back to the scene of Picard leaving the vineyard where he's talking to Laris. And again, this was another really nice scene. It was just really quaint in a good way. And there was, again, the music from the opening credits was playing, and you could see Picard looking into outer space, the great unknown, which he's been to loads of times. And we know that this is going to be his last adventure, because he's not getting out with this alive.
All right, and then we head back to Soji. Ramda actually tells Soji she hates mythology and prefers to call it news, as we said earlier. The word news is kind of a revelation to Soji. She falls into the rabbit hole of talking utter cack.
And we kind of just tuned out. I mean, well, did you follow what she was saying?
I'll try explain it from what I understood of it. It doesn't really make too much sense. Ramda says she doesn't believe in mythology, which is completely ridiculous. All culture is formed on mythology. But Soji's really happy to hear this because she associates this with them creating their own history of a shared traumatic event, i.e. all the Romulans getting assimilated. So they've made their own community. But then we get on to my favourite scene of the entire episode, the Picard fight scene at Chateau Picard. Picard gets surrounded by, how many is it, like 6 Romulan agents?
Yeah, 6 or 8, yeah.
Yeah. It's actually quite an enjoyable scene, to be honest. The lack of music makes for a nice change, considering the rest of the episode is just beating you over the head with music.
And there were no superhero jumps this time.
Thank God.
Yeah.
It was actually great to see 94-year-old Picard still able to cross fists with highly trained assassins.
I was expecting him to take a sword out of the walking stick.
And use it for fencing.
Aha!
Although I get a strange feeling that we're going to see that in the next episode, so I don't know.
Oh no, I've given them an idea.
There were guns everywhere, though. Everywhere. Everyone had guns everywhere. There was guns under tables. There was guns under that table. As a matter of fact, Dr. Jurati actually got a rifle from the middle of nowhere. She came into the room with a rifle, shot a Romulan agent in the back who only had a pistol. Did he leave the rifle behind and think, I only need a pistol, I'll get the drop on them with my very, very loud pistol?
I love the way he was late to the fight, so he hears that the room has gone silent, and he's like, oh, I'll sneak up on them. And then just get shot in the back.
It's the equivalent of turning on your lightsaber to sneak up on someone.
Yeah.
As this is happening, it cuts between Soji and Picard scenes. There's a Romulan interrogation going on from the one surviving assassin. Soji is apparently, says Ramda, the end of all things. She's the destroyer.
Destroyers!
Droideka.
Looks like Ramda really did believe in mythology. Huh?
Bit of a hypocrite there.
Yeah. So Soji then calls her mom, and she has this delightful discussion. Actually, no, she doesn't. Her mom just kind of talks to her like, oh my god, honey, your sister is okay, which opens another plot. So it's now confirmed that Soji and Daj both know who each other are. And it's just a confusing conversation when Picard asks Daj about her unusual necklace. What's this about? And she's like, oh, my dad made it. No mention of her sister. But they have this boring conversation, and Soji's mom puts Soji straight to sleep, like anyone would. And then she gets woken up the next day by Narek. Narek walks into the room, and he's like, can you keep a secret?
Oh.
Ooh. Then he whispers in her ear, I may be falling in love with you.
Oh.
I actually would have preferred if it was the can you keep a secret, and he goes up to her and is like, and we're left with this kind of thread. I mean, I hate that anyway, but I'd rather that than I may be falling in love with you.
It was painful, painfully embarrassing as well as an actor. It was just awkward, really, really awkward.
And then Narek leaves the room, and lo and behold, Rizzo's back.
Yeah.
And we get this lovely scene of the two of them, you know, awkwardly close to each other, whispering in each other's ears, and it builds this type of disgusting sexual tension that they must be trying to go for the Lannisters of Star Trek, where, you know, they have the evil dominant sister and the weak ambiguous brother, and Rizzo bosses Narek around and tells him what to do, and we get whispers and secrets in corridors.
They're already in a corridor with nobody. Yeah. Why do they need to whisper? And then we move back to Picard putting a team together. Jurati joins the fun because apparently Romulan assassins are actually trying to kill her as well. It's a bit confusing why Rios did all the packing. Does he not have the holograms when they call him up? He's just seen there packing for some reason.
The EPH, the emergency packer holograms.
Maybe he had a Mexican accent then. That would have been interesting. Another racist accent. This ship is so advanced. Like, it's ridiculously advanced. They don't even have normal displays. It's all holographic. It makes no sense. They pick up air, swipe away air. It's cool. Not really Star Trek, though.
If they have holo emitters all over the ship, why doesn't he just, when he sits into a seat, it'll just make a display come in front of him that he can actually even lean on and, you know, put his arms out and control instead of this arm in the air. Okay, this is where I'm going to put my hand.
And you know what, actually, in that idea, how did that medical kit just appear there? And then whiskey just appear there? Is the whole ship a replicator? Or did it beam from the cargo hold?
Well, it could be in transporter storage. So that is a thing. Well. They can do that. I mean, we see it in Star Trek Elite Force, where everything in their backpack. It's actually a great way of explaining how characters carry literally everything, like rifles and bazookas and everything.
Just beam it in.
Yeah, just like they have their transporter buffer on their back. Well, Colin, what are your thoughts moving forward for Picard?
Moving forward? I'm glad it is moving forward. I feel like I said this in the last episode. Yeah. This has taken far too long to get anywhere. All I want to see is Riker. That's all I want. I thought we would get it in the second episode. Then I was like, okay, fair enough. We didn't get it in the second episode. So I was like, okay, maybe we'll get it in the third episode because he's leaving Earth. No, we got nothing. I would be devastated if Riker doesn't appear till the last episode when Picard's coming back to Earth. I'd be so dejected. This is ridiculous.
If he comes back to Earth, they could just have a flashback of Picard leaving Earth.
And remember what you said to Riker?
Yeah. I was watching a reviewer, it's SC Reviews, and he was like, why are they taking so long to get off the planet? Just give me a goddamn 80s montage scene of Picard putting the band back together.
That's all I want.
I know, and that's exactly what it is. I mean, we don't know who these characters are. I mean, it still doesn't matter that we get introduced to alcoholic, drug addict, what's her name? Raffi. I mean, we could just have her come aboard the ship and then Picard finds her in her room passed out after taking drugs. Bang. Okay, we know she has a problem. We don't need the whole... Yeah, yes.
Did you like this episode?
No, I didn't like the episode. I thought it was melodramatic. It was boring. I mean, as well as that, I don't know who it's aimed at. I mean, it's clearly aimed at people that liked The Next Generation and Voyager, but at the same time, it has contempt for these people because they won't give you the same type of show. Because I can't imagine people that didn't watch, say, The Next Generation or the Next Generation films tuning in to watch this because they don't know who Jean-Luc Picard is. So why would you change the aesthetic so much?
Do you know what? Do you know what I think? I think we need a break from Star Trek. I'm getting really tired of CBS Star Trek, and I think the Monday video. Let's just see a movie.
Let's surprise everyone. We'll review a film on Monday, We'll stick to the Picard reviews. Don't worry, they're not going anywhere. But I think we need a little Trek break. Unless, of course, somebody comments something that we just can't do without covering. We're going to change things up just a little bit on Monday.
Otherwise, I'm going to go bald. Okay, so we're going to close it up there. Now, if you like what you saw, if you like what you heard, remember to hit the like button and subscribe as well. And of course, if there is anything you'd like us to cover, please do. Send us a comment. We love to reply to comments. Even if you have an opinion, we like to hear other people's opinions because it helps us inform our own opinions as well. And as always, we've been the Hologrumps. I'm Colin.
And I'm Liam.
Take care.